starting pitcher. He's with a team that's, completely rebuilding and resetting. And, I feel like getting a starting pitcher or some time long reliever that can maintain leads for them going into these 8-9 innings where they start blowing leads.
Well, and I've said on my podcast multiple times, I think Marcus Stroman is a guy that when you make a trade with a failing franchise, right, it's easier to find a pairing that way. Another guy, strong arm end of the bullpen, who is a guy who we just faced in Will Smith. It's Bruce Bochy's last year in San Francisco. They don't have a lot of promising talent. Buster Posey is on the tail end of his career, and Will Smith's having a great year. So, to give up some prospects to either of those teams, to get either of those guys, it's worth the price to me to gain one of those two guys in the rotation and or in the bullpen.
Yeah, I think there's value in, jumping out. I think it's worth giving up some of these prospects that we have. I feel like this year we kind of pulled some of our prospects up a little bit early. They didn't seem just ready yet. Brendan Rodgers being one of those guys that's just like just on the verge of being called up or not. And you can kind of see when you're not ready for the show, you're not ready for the show. And, one of the frustrating parts of this year for the Rockies has been Kyle Freeland. Potential
and I will say,
Cy Young Kennedy coming into this. And
before we start talking about Kyle Freeland, I will say, I talked to Ryan Spilborghs earlier this year. He is not a friend of the show or anything. I actually met him at getting a haircut. But he was telling me, I tried to be impressive and show him that I knew who Brendan Rodgers was. And he said, I don't think Brendan Rodgers will come up until next year, which, a lot of people did think at the beginning of the season. However, I think for Brendan Rodgers' stint right before he got sent back down this past time before he got called up again, I think it was a pretty good stint for his first MLB, call up. But I think there's a difference between him having a good stint and going back down, but bringing him back up for need instead of development is something that could hurt him. But I think, obviously 7th overall prospect in the majors, I think. Yeah. There's a lot of hype around him. But I think for his first stint, he did pretty well.
You look at some of these players that were called up at the beginning of the year, Fernando Tatis, Vladimir Guerrero, two guys that are, top 5 on the list of, MLB prospects as the year was starting.
Mm-hmm.
When they went out there and they